Pleasant day, sir. We are a group from 1CSA. I'm Blesselle D. Ramirez.
I'm Cecilio M. Naparan Jr.
I am Ren Tapas.
And this is the presentation of our midterm project. So in our midterm project, we are tasked to create and design a simple multiform Java Swing application wherein it will demonstrate a CRUD application for students' personal information. So aside from creating a CRUD application, we are also given a specific requirements that we have to meet in creating this program. So before we run our project, as we can see, we have here our J-frames for our whole program and for our whole system. And if we look here in our Package Explorer, under our midterm project, we have here the SRC file and the JRE system library where we can commonly see every time we create a Java project. And under our SRC, in the default package, we have our frames. Then as we can see here, we also have res package wherein it contains our PNG files that we are going to use in our programs in each frame. Now, if we look at here, we have a reference library. So since in Java Swing, it doesn't have its own default component for JDate Chooser, we imported one by selecting the midterm project, and then going to project under the properties. Then once we are there, we can go to Java build path, and in the class path, we add an external jar files. And these are the two jar files that we have added and apply in our program in order for it to run. So as we run the program, we are going to show the specific requirements that we need to meet in this program in order for us to see if we are able to accomplish it. So in multi-form application, one of the basic rules is that each of them are independent and separate forms. So it means that each of them have different functions. And another basic rules in creating a multi-form application is that we have our parent frame, which is in our program is the framing. So since we have our framing as our parent, doesn't matter if we run the program here in our main file or in the new frame update because it will always begin in our parent frame since these four other frames are just child. So as we run the program, this is what going to be displaying our screen. And in our midterm project, as the first requirement, we are prompt to create a main form that will display separate buttons for the login button, for a new button for adding a new record, and then update button for updating a record, deleting a record wherein, which is this one, the delete button. Then lastly, we have the logout button for exiting the system. So as we can see, the other four buttons are still enabled because we need to enter first in the system. So we click the login button, we are redirected into another frame, which is the main.java frame. So in this frame, we are required to type the default username and password for our program, which is the admin. So for example, we got the username correct and the password incorrect. Once we click the login button, it will show or display a message to us saying that we got the password incorrect. So we can reset again and type again. So in this case, we'll type the admin as incorrect and then the password as correct. Then this time, it will display invalid username. And then lastly, if we type both of them correctly, let me show the main form. If we log in, it will show a message dialog box and us saying that we successfully logged in the system. So as we can see, since now that we have logged in successfully in our system, our 4 buttons are already enabled. So another requirement for us is that, so we are done with this one. And then the third requirement for us is that our main form will always show or always display the JTable. So somewhere here, somewhere here. And so as said here, upon running the program, our JTable will be maximized. So it means that whenever we create or whenever we click a button here and we add a row of data, it will also be appended in our JTable in the mainframe. So even though our four buttons are enabled, doesn't mean that we can access some of them. So for example, in our update button, so since we still don't have any record and we're still not inputting any data in our system, show us no existing record and doesn't show the update frame. Same goes with the delete frame. So as we can see here, it doesn't run the full program for that frame because we still don't have records. So let's add a new record first by clicking the new button. Now we are redirected in the new frame. Since we call the new button, it will redirect us in the new frame. And in here, as we can see, we are tasked to complete this table. If it happens that we do not enter any data and we click save, it will ask us to fill up all the fields. So for example, even if, for example, I enter my name. If I'm able to complete this part, but I wasn't able to accomplish some of the table and I click save, it will still tell us that we should fill up all the fields. So let's continue. I'll set my birthday. Then as we can see here, we have get age button for us to see our age and for the system to compute for our age. Let's select CC as our course and BSCS. Once we save it, it will show us a message dialog box saying that we successfully saved the data. We click OK, and then when we close the operation, it will lastly says that we successfully saved the data. So now, as we can see here, as one of the requirement in our CRUD application, every time or every operation being performed, it will always correspond in our JTable. it shows here. So what if we want to update an data? So if we click update, so we'll select this one and we can now update it. And we save. As we can see, our data is successfully updated, and our row count doesn't change because we just changed some of the text or some of the data inside our JTable. Let's click save, and for example, we want to add another file. Okay. So as we can see here, our row counts is being incremented by 1 since we added a new data. Then click OK. And then next is if we click the delete button, as we can see here in our JText fields and our JCombo box, our bottom, it is set enabled to false since we're just going to delete. We're not going to update any data. So if we select this one and we click save, we are asked, or a confirm dialog box is displayed in our screen asking us if we are sure to remove this selected row. So if we click no, it will not do anything since we click no. If we click cancel, it will not do anything too since the operation is cancelled. So once we delete this row of data and we click yes, displays as a message saying that our data is successfully deleted. And as we can see here in the lower right, our row count is decremented by 1 since we removed one of the raw data. Successfully saved. Okay. So now, if we want to leave the system and we click the logout button, it will show us a message saying that our account is successfully logged out. Then it will go back to login. So that's our whole program. Thank you.
Good day, sir. My name is Cecilio Naparan Jr. and I'm here to explain the frame main or the main form of our program. The first thing we do is we create a new frame, under the midterm project, and we design first. First thing we do is we add a scroll pane, which is we scroll pane, and under the scroll pane we add a table, which is the TBL personal info here. And after that, we add a new button, the button login, and also the button logout, new, update, and delete. As you can see here, the logout, new, update, delete are set enabled to false. So the user, I should log in first before they go to the operations. Um, Then we add a J label here. So a J label to say that you need to log in first. Then we also add here the LBL operation J label. So you can see here, if you click the login button, the and you successfully log in, The other J button, which is the log out, new update, delete, are set enable to true. Set enable to true. And the LBL operation, as you can see here, it set to the please select operation. It will appear. And after that, we add a row count here, J label. So every time the user add new data, um, the row count are going to increase the ID number, which is here. So we add a column header, or we declare as string column header the ID, first name, last name, middle name, birthday, age, college course. And we add a default table model. We import default table model, which is the model personal info. Um, and we set the column identifiers to column header, and we set the viewport view to TBL personal info. And also we set the enabled to false, so that the user cannot edit the data inside the table. After that, we add a event handler for login, and every time the user clicks the button, the login form, which is we declare the other form, or the other frame, which is, so that every time the user click the login button, it it appears like that. And we set visible to true. I'm sorry. Set enable the login button to false. Also, we set and enable the button login to false, so they cannot log in again. Then we add a add event handler to new the new here, and we declare another J frame, which is the new frame here, the new form. Then every time the user click the new button, the new frame are it appears like this. Add in admin. Okay. New, like this. The same to the update and delete. But in delete, as you can see here, every time the user click the update, but they not add a data, the system will tell the user that no existing record, also to delete, and that. Um, and also we add set disabled, public void set disabled. So every time for example, the example new, if you click a new button, the the other button or the other operation button will be set enabled to false. The first thing we do to create the maintain the login form, we add a new JFrame under the midterm project. Then we set the width of the JFrame to 600, and we set the location relative to null so that every time the user click the login button, the JFrame set to the login form set to the center. After that, we set to undecorated to true to remove the upper part of JFrame or the closing operation, and we add a background or and borders to content pane. Then after that, we add a closing operation using JLabel, using JLabel, and we set the variable to LBL close, and we set the text to X. To and after that, we add a event handler, the add mouse listener, the mouse click. So every time the user click the the J label, it says that, are you sure you want to close the operation? If you click the no, nothing happens. And if you click the yes, the the J frame will dispose. Then we add a mouse entered. So every time the mouse of the user enter the J label, it set the foreground to color red so that the user um, will know that the J label is clickable. Then after that, we add a J panel here, the 2J panel for TXT username for JText field and password field. Under the under the J panel, under the J panel, under the J panel, we set JText field, which is the TXT username, and we set the text username. Then we also add a icon of username. We add icon. Um, the first thing we do is we add new folder. Then under the midterm project and under the SRC folder, we add a new folder, which is the res, and we copy the the PNG or the picture, and we paste it to res, to folder res. And we to declare the image, we import image. Then we set the variable to img logo equals new, and we import an image icon and the name of class, and get resources, tas double quotation, tas the name of folder, the name of picture, that get image, that get scaled instant, and we set the size here, and we set the image that scales smooth so that every time the picture we can adjust manually to the content pane or the J panel. We also add a J panel here for login under the J panel, J panel login, the label for login, and also the icon for login, also in the reset. So we sa in JText in password field, um, we set the echo car to 0. So if the user click the login button, the password are not, the echo car. Then so every time that and with also with that we add a event handler, which is the focus gain. So every time the user focus, so every time the mouse of the user focus on the password field, um, it set the text to this echo car. So if you add a kunyari a password, it hidden. Also, we had add event handler, which is the focus loss. So if the user or if it's not focused the to the to the password field or text field, the txt password is set to the password or username. After that, we add event handler to the login button, which is the panel button. Add mouse listener. So every time the user click the save or the login, if, but it's empty, um, the right yun. Um, it shows the please fill up all the fields. If the username are invalid or wrong and the password is call this correct, it shows the invalid username. So every time we reset the we reset, it shows yun, the username and the password. And every time they get correct, it goes to the main form.
Uh, Hello, sir. I am Ren Tapas, and I will discuss the the three buttons, which is the new button, update button, and delete button. Now, here we are in new frame source, and as you can see here, this is where we call the new frame. Then it's proper the new frame properties. Then this is the scroll plane where our table JTable resides, and this is the label row count that we use as a medium where we store our row counts, which is here. If there's any rows to count. Then here we see a J label used as a close operation. And here we have action listener where this code listens to um, mouse actions, which is mouse click. If the user click this the X icon, a message dialog which will show that it says that the data is successfully saved. Then after that, it will enable all the disabled buttons, which is the update and delete button. Then here it counts, or basically it reads if there is a added row or there's no. Then here action listener where if the user points the mouse cursor in the X icon, it makes the X icon glow red, and if not, black. Next, we have the the txt first name, which is what we do here. The txt first name basically stores the first name of the the first name or the text that the user entered. Let me just enter. Then next is the last name, which basically functions as same functions the same as the first name. Then the same with the middle name. The date of birth is a special JDate field or a JDate chooser, um, which chooses we can use this we can use this as a date chooser to for user to enter their birth date. Let me just enter my birthday. Then here we have age the age the age txt field, which is disabled because we can just use the get age button as a medium to calculate the age. Then we have the CBO college for user to choose the college they're in, there or the user in, which is, let me just click where I am. So, MBSCS. Then, if the user clicks save, wait, let me just get to save. Yeah. If the user clicks save, what it will do is it will add all of the data that the user inputted and add it to the J table, which is here. And after that, if we let me just enter again like a random random text. If you click the button cancel, it will automatically clear all the text fields that the user entered. Then that's all for the new frame or new button. Next will be the update frame or the update button. So here we can see a action listener where if the user click whatever row he or she wanted to edit, it will it will get the values of of the stored data in JTable and put it in the text fields. Then whenever we want to edit or update some of the data, we could just enter this entered let me just enter one text. Then we could just click this save button for it to be updated, just here. The next is for the delete frame. In delete frame, it has the same action listener, which is the mouse click event. Mouse click event where if the user click the desired row to be deleted, it will display it in the fields. Then let me just find this save button in here. Okay, here it's in the btn save. It says that if the user click the button save, it it will delete the selected row. But first, a G option pane will show if it will ask the user if the user wants to delete it or not. Then if we click yes, a show message dialog will show a message that the selected row is successful has been successfully deleted.
For additional features, instead of using button or J button, we use a J panel here, B panel. And under the J panel, we add J label login, and also we add icon for login, logos, username, and password. Um, we add event handler, mouse click. So mouse click, mouse entered, and mouse exited. As you can see, um, when the mouse of the user entered to the J panel, it set the border. And when you exited, and when the mouse of the user exited to the J panel, the border will set to the null. And also in username, we add also a J panel here, a J panel, and under the J panel, we add a JText field, and we set the text of JText field to username. So every time the user click the login, the username will appear to the text field. And we add a mouse listener to the mouse entered and mouse exited. And also we add a focus gain for text field and J password, a J password field. In J password field, here, wait. Here, J password field, we set we add a focus listener, the focus gain and focus loss. When the user click the login, the click the login button to the main form, the password will appear here in JText password field instead of setting the echo card or the like this. How do you call that? What do you call it? Then it appears the text password. But when you click the ano, the or but when you click the text field, it automatically set text to null or yeah. Then if you click, or as you can see here, if you click if the focus focus in ah, cut yun when the user focus to the ay wait lang we set the txt password or the J password field to set echo car to car 0. So every time the user click the login button, wait. The login button. So every time the user click the login button, the word password will appear to the text password field. And when we add focus listener, focus gain and focus loss. So every time focus to the username automatically um, set text to the null or to the null. And if you focus to the password field, the password field set to acquire set echo card to this, and the txt password that set text to null. Then for the closing operation, as you can see here, we set the undecorated to true so that the user ay J panel ay the J frame, the upper part of J frame will remove, or the closing operation. So we added a new closing operation, which is the J label here. Um, in the label here. And we add a mouse listener. The mouse click, mouse entered, and mouse exited. When the mouse entered the J label, the set foreground, the color of the font will be red. For example, once the user go to red, But when the user exited to the J label, it goes to the block.
So another feature that we add in this frame, in the main frame, is the reset panel. So for example, we enter admin as the username, then for password anything. And if the user choose to reset, it will just make it faster for the user to log in again or to enter new username and password. So for example, if the user type the incorrect password and the incorrect username, the user can just simply reset to enter another password and username. And as we can see too, instead of, for example, another one, instead of displaying the invalid username and password into a message dialog box, we added a JLabel above the two panels in order for the user to see that they type the incorrect username and password. And that's it for this frame.
Frame will remove or the closing operation. So we added a new closing operation, which is the J label here. Um, Label here. And we add a mouse listener. The mouse click, mouse entered, and mouse exited. When the when the mouse entered to the J label, the set foreground, the color of the font will be red. For example, once the user go to red. But when the user exited to the J label, it goes to the block.
So another feature that we add in this frame, in the main frame, is the reset panel. So for example, we enter admin as the username, then for password anything. And if the user choose to reset, it will just make it faster for the user to log in again or to enter new username and password. So for example, if the user type the incorrect password and the incorrect username, the user can just simply reset to enter another password and username. And as we can see too, instead of, for example, another one, instead of displaying the invalid username and password into a message dialog box, we added a JLabel above the two panels in order for the user to see that they type the incorrect username and password. And that's it for this frame.